Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Spacecast 101. I'm Aryan and I'll be your host today, representing Team Dhruva, the Amateur Astronomers and Astrophysics Club at RV College of Engineering in Bangalore. Astrophysics is a vast and enchanting field, losing ourselves in equations that unlock the motion of stars, planets, and asteroids, driving formulae to measure the heat emitted by massive stars, figuring out how black holes work, and finding out where it truly came from. What is it like to work on solving some of these mysteries as a career? How do you get there and what do you do? Luckily for us, we have a special guest who will help us answer these questions. One who is well known amongst the members of Dhruva, REC alumnus, former team co captain of Dhruva, and a PhD student in astrophysics at IIT Kanpur. I'd like to welcome Mr. Pranav Hariharan. Pranavana, thank you so much for appearing on this podcast. I'm really excited. I feel like our listeners are going to learn a lot today. So let's just get right into it. So we in Dhruva, of course, know a lot about you, but our listeners don't. So for their sake, could you just give us a bit of introduction about yourself? What are you pursuing right now, and what exactly it is that you do?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to introduce myself. First things first, my name is Pranav. I was from Arvind College of Engineering. I'm an Arvind College of Engineering alumni right now. Uh, Currently, I'm in doing my PhD in IIT Kanpur. I'm doing my PhD in a department called as Space Planetary Science, Observation, and Astronomical Science. It primarily works on both theoretical and also experimental aspects of astrophysics, and it has all kinds of various forms of astrophysics fields like observational field and theoretical field, radio, X-ray, gamma ray, and various different facilities are also there in IIT Kanpur. Um, Before this, I when I was in RV College of Engineering, I was a part of this amateur astronomy club, like my friend has mentioned over here. His name was Dhruva. Dhruva was a very interesting endeavor for me in my life. I have learned almost every single thing, whatever I wanted to learn related to astrophysics, related to space science, related to instrumentation, and all kinds of things I've learned by doing projects involving myself in the works in Dhruva. So this through that I've gained a lot of experience, a lot of connections, and through many of those connections I've got into in such a position where I could take astrophysics as a career, my dream passion as a career. So that is something which I'm very grateful for.
Wonderful. And the decision to actually pursue astrophysics, so did it come as a byproduct of joining Dhruva, or did you envision astrophysics before you joined Dhruva, maybe before you joined RV College of Engineering?
Fascinatingly, actually, I was very much interested in astrophysics even before engineering. The thing here was one of the most important point which I had before was it was normally whenever anybody would say like, okay, you have a passion towards something, you're having like a passion, it's mostly like a childhood kind of a thing, like, okay, someday you just saw, let's say, an astronaut in some kind of a NASA expo or an ISRO kind of event, or like you just dreamt of, okay, fine, I want to be an astronaut, or someday you just like looked at the stars and then you just felt like, okay, fine, I wanted to like become a like an astrophysicist or a scientist related to studying about stars and stuff. But for me it was mostly like I was just looking through some of the videos and YouTube and stuff like that when I was doing my JEE preparations in my 12th. That's when I stumbled upon some of the videos related to black holes. I just didn't know anything about black holes, nothing about space, nothing about science. Just looked at it, felt nice. It was really interesting. I didn't know anything. There was a person who was explaining about all these kind of scientific phenomena and all these stuff. So that just got me an interest that, okay, if I want to do something, I was already like having some interest in physics as well, because JEE makes you to like work through your physics, your mathematics, and all these things. So that was already there. But then the interest towards astrophysics was something which I got through to some of the videos that I watched.
Right. And you, if I'm not wrong, your branch in RV College of Engineering was computer science.
Yes.
wasn't it?
Hmm.
So computer science and software engineering is quite different from astrophysics and theoretical study.
Hmm.
So it's basically like different worlds. So how does the transition feel moving from engineering to research?
Okay, so this is like one, I think I would say it's a misconception mostly that people usually like refer to like, okay, computer science is like mostly engineering domain and it's mostly works in fields like corporate fields, which is like web development, software development, or testing, software testing, these kind of stuff. But honestly, that is not the case. Okay, especially when after I started working over here in as a PhD student in IIT Kanpur, I learned that computer and software technology, programming, learning about lots of softwares, lots of databases, handling lots of databases, it's like a very important and a routine job of an astrophysicist because the amount of data that you're having that you're handling in a company, let's say a multinational company, the same amount of data, it's the kind of data would be like different because that is like you're working for a client, but here you're working for, let's say, studying something, you're doing a research about a black hole or something like that. But the the amount or the size of the data is enormous and you need to have lots of computing skills, lots of programming skills. I would like, in fact, doing basic coding using such kind of work is a mammoth task. So you need to have optimized computer scientists to work in such fields. So that is one thing which helped me in my work over here as well, and also like it has helped me a lot throughout my entire journey while pursuing transitioning from a hobby onto a career. So this computer knowledge was very important for me throughout my life.
Right. That okay, you're absolutely right. And speaking of Dhruva, since you started, you actually were able to take a big step in astrophysics through Dhruva. Could you tell us a little more about Dhruva? What kind of projects you might have worked on, and how was life there, balancing academics and projects and such?
Okay. Dhruva was very was a very interesting journey actually. I really loved the way how uh, the entire organization or the club was working as. When I started my first year in Dhruva, my first year BTech in Dhruva, that time I think my seniors comprised of, let's say, handful of, like, I would remember as 5 or 6 people totally, irrespective of all branches and all years. So every totally it was like about 5 to 6, maybe you could say, including like the PR and other things. You could include it to be like about 10 people maximum. So this was like a very small bunch of people, bunch of enthusiastic people working on some tasks, some work, some open source work, which we could get out of uh, just purely based on astrophysics. So these people, what fascinated me about Dhruva was the passion. Small group of people didn't fear about, okay, what we could do out of it, what we could like. The number is small. We couldn't work anything. We couldn't produce anything. What we can make out of it, they didn't even think about that. They were like, okay, fine. I have now I'm in astrophysics club. I need to give my 100% towards the field of astrophysics. Learn about astrophysics. After all, we are here to learn about astrophysics. So that's the whole crux. So we all of us were just sitting and finding new ways as to what kind of projects we can do, what kind of competitions we can go into. So that was very interesting for me in Dhruva.
Right. Right. And you have also done an internship, or you have worked at the Raman Research Institute. Right? Could you just tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So before that, I would like to say a few things about my projects before my Raman
Sure,
Research
sure,
Institute
sure.
work.
Please.
So in Dhruva, like I was saying, right? In Dhruva, what the main point was when I was working in Dhruva, the first year itself, due to an unfortunate event, the pandemic which had happened, uh, we had got a lockdown phase and everybody was sitting at home. We had to do something, and that was the time when I got a lot of time to learn new skills, and we got a challenge which was called as an antenna design challenge. It was conducted by Skywatch Array Network. This was a bunch of it was basically like a group which consisted of many senior scientists, astrophysicists all across India, who were trying to test or basically give out good challenges to the undergrad and postgrad students of our colleges in India, trying to know what exactly they are and what kind of capabilities they hold when it comes to astrophysical data and what they could do out of it. Basically, sparking some curiosity. So when I went there, when I started participating in these kind of events and all, so they actually Swan had provided us with an antenna design challenge. So this was to basically build an antenna for a radio detection, which was supposed to happen in certain point of time. So this was a very interesting challenge for me. I learned everything from the basic, like every single point. Literally, I did not know what was antenna. I had to Google antenna. I had to Google each and every word which was given in the challenge, and from there coming up with like taking small steps, learning about each and everything, learning about what is electromagnetic theory, what is different things. So that helped me to gain perspective over what kind of knowledge this field is having. When you go into deep, it's not just like, okay, today you're just like looking at a couple of stars through the telescope or understanding about constellation, and then understanding that, okay, fine, this is what you would be doing as a day job in when you take a career as an astrophysicist. No, this is not how you work. It's completely different from as an amateur astrophysicist and a professor astrophysicist is like a completely different field, honestly. So that was one thing with, and through these kind of projects, actually I had worked on this, and then again I couldn't get anything from that, a conclusive design, a proper design. We got a conclusive and a proper design, but it was not selected for further rounds. Then there was another challenge which was called as Gurudhwani challenge, which was to detect radio emissions from Jupiter. In that, our team won like the second place for designing that particular antenna. Uh, using this with the help of this kind of experience that I gained working about antennas and technology, RF technology, and these kind of things, building the different designs. This helped me to like get or crack the interview of RRI through contacts and other things. So of course, I told you that in Dhruva, one of the most important points that I got was the amount of contacts and the amount of establishments that you get when you join an astrophysics club, especially in if you join a club, you will always get good contacts. And for astrophysics, contacts is a very important point. So these kind of connections help me to basically like go in uh, the field of astrophysics in RRI basically. So there I worked in as a cosmology field where I was sitting and doing some coding related to data analysis and coding work.
Right. And the next question I think our listeners will like very much. We are coming to the main part here. So we'll talk about your life at IIT. So let's start from the beginning as to how you applied for it and how you got through the various steps in order to actually acquire the position. So could you just tell us, as well as the preparations and what you studied and basically what you prepared. So could you just tell us a little bit about that?
This so as you know that my field was basically computer science. So I am a BTech computer science person right now. The problem with that field was, see, you can say that even yeah, you can say that, okay, computer science is also related in astrophysics, and it is very important to learn computers when you are doing some kind of data analysis and everything. But of course, if you're taking a field as vast as astrophysics and you want to like get into like the actual work of that and do some kind of a professional PhD or masters or anything related to astrophysics, you need to have some kind of basics basic knowledge in physics. You need to have good amount of knowledge in physics, okay, at least if you are in India, if you want to pursue something in India, that is like the first and foremost aspect. So that is what I understood. The first thing was, what I understood was, okay, I need to basically get something related to astrophysics in India. So what is the first thing I need to do? I need to crack the examinations. Simple thing, you need to come into IIT, you have to crack GATE. Okay, you have to crack GATE, you have to crack, there are various exams, JAM, GATE, JEST. These are all some of the exams. CSIR is there. These are some of the exams which you have to attempt. If you are able to get a good score in any of the four examinations, you will be eligible to get into like the next stage, which is basically written test or interview, or depending on the colleges. You apply for different colleges. Depending on the colleges, either they will ask you to write a written test, or they will ask you to or they will ask you to go for an interview directly. Okay, so most of the places, they accept, as a BTech person, you're having 4 years of experience, basically 4 years of studying experience. So that means that you can easily take up any PhD course according to like the norms of the government and everything. You can easily take up any PhD course in any field, whichever you want to. So, but provided you have to clear the exams and also the interview. Okay, so that I cleared. Basically, I got a call from IIT Kanpur in the month of May. I First of all, I finished my BTech last year, and then I took a year drop. And then in the month of May, I cleared all the exams, and then I got a mail from IIT Kanpur for an interview. It was an online interview. I attempted that online interview, and then they gave me the results by June 1st, and I got selected for pursuing PhD in IIT Kanpur. So this was my entire process.
And one question which actually a lot of people might have is, what is the general scope of astrophysics when you're pursuing it as a career?
Hmm.
The the paycheck, the work-life balance, and all these are questions which people who are in the process of thinking about taking this up as a career might have. So could you just talk a little bit about how you maintain yourself, how you maintain the housing, bills, and all the other requirements
Hmm.
when you're studying or when you're pursuing a PhD?
Okay, so this is very, very, like, I would say, actually it's pretty layered and complicated topic when it comes to, because it's purely individualistic. Okay, it depends on your individual finance. It depends on what kind of level you can take to. I can give you a broad overview as to what exactly everything is when it comes to PhD, when it comes to academia, and when it comes to even what is the life in academia actually. So this kind of knowledge is basically like I've gained it mostly in the span of like 1 year, especially more, and it's refining more and more as and when I'm studying in IIT. So I'll just give you a broad overview. First things first, before going into the field of academia, you need to understand two very important points. Academia, the most important thing is that you have to spend your next 5 years or 7 years, or sometimes more than even 7 years, 10 years maybe, in the field of just purely studying. You will be paid. You will that is there, but payment will not be like the primary option. Your primary option will mostly be that you need to focus on your studies, and studies will be your primary goal, which is that you need to write. If you're taking up next, let's say you're a BTech student. I'm talking about a person who has just now graduated BTech, and he wants to like pursue, or who is going to graduate BTech in this year or something. He would be in his third year or fourth year, and he is going to graduate like next year, let's say. So for that kind of a person, he needs to understand one important point is that after graduation, you have to you have to either you have to take master, or you have to take PhD. You can like I said, right, you can take direct PhD as well. So both of them, you have to still go through the same kind of mathematics, the same kind. physics, mathematics, and all these things. Examinations will be there, tests will be there, regular examinations. You cannot get rid of that. Even be it in India or in foreign, you have to attempt all these things. This is a mandatory requirement as you're there in the field of academia, because if you can't if you're like bored of tests and examinations and all, then how are you going to like face the next stage of your life, which is mostly like writing the test papers and these kind of things. Okay, so first things first. Second, if you are the most important point is you never ever work for money here. It is that your work is mostly that I am having a passion towards astrophysics. I am having a passion towards physics. I am having a passion towards any kind of field related to physics which interests me. That is the field that I will. That is why I am here. Okay. I don't care tomorrow if I am getting, like, let's say, um, for 1,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees. If my bank balance is only like 1,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees, it's okay. If I'm living with just like a single piece of meal, or a single course of meal, it's fine. Okay, but what is my interest is that I just have to sit and work on my physics. That is my passion. So that is what I want to do. That is what I'm here for, and I'm living for this one reason. So then astrophysics and taking up astrophysics as a career is a field for you, because lots of time people usually like get fascinated by stars, by planets, and these kind of things. Like looking at the newspaper, obviously, like Interstellar movies, like Interstellar and all, make you feel like, okay, I want to do some kind of work related to a field of astrophysics, learning about black holes and just like that. And then you just get into the hype of it, and then you forget that, okay, you had to learn copious amounts of books and learning about fundamental techniques of physics and everything, just to like understand all these kind of work. If this is what is, yeah, you need to keep the goal that, okay, fine, I want to learn, let's say, a black hole, or let's say a neutron star or something like that. You need to have that goal. But if you are ready to like even enjoy the process as well, if you're ready to enjoy the journey, which is like learning rigorous amounts of maths, doing a lot of things, then you can take up this kind of thing, because that is what you will be doing day in and day out. You will not be like basically observing in you will not be every day just like sitting and observing in a telescope or something. You will mostly be writing out codes. You will be working out equations. You will be like sitting on a piece of board and then just like typing or jotting down whatever you want to do. So that is one thing which you need to understand. Okay. Second and third point is that financial conditions, even like, because it's like a 5 year or a 10 year 10 year kind of a schedule, 5 to 10 year schedule. You need to basically think about your not only your financial conditions, but also your family's financial conditions, whether they can actually like afford all these things. And of course you will be getting a decent amount of pay, be it in India or in abroad. You will be getting a decent amount of pay to survive your entire life. You can do all kinds of work over here using the money whichever you get monthly. You will be getting, like, say for example, in IIT I am getting 37,000 per month. Okay, I'm entitled to get 37,000 per month. This month I just got my stipend, and you usually like 37,000 is enough for you to like survive for the next month. Save up for yourself. It's purely, I told you, right? It's purely like you, if you don't have any kind of financial burden. You don't need to work or think about your family. You don't need to earn for your family, or for your, or let's say you don't have any kind of prior commitments. Then um, 37,000, or let's say the amount of money that has been provided to you during your PhD, it is enough for you to, like, okay, to be happy and to be content with your whatever you're getting. Okay, PhD environment is very very interesting because you're having a lot of facilities regarding jobs as well. You get good amount of jobs also in the future. Once after you're done with your PhD, you can take up jobs in government places like ISRO, DFD, or BARC, or these kind of places as well. Apart from that, you can also there are lots of private companies which come to hire you for R&D works to do to do to do such works in their field of the in their field, whichever field you are there. Like let's say if you're doing detections in let's say cosmology or these kind of detections, you will be most probably, if you are working in instrumentations, you will be most probably like working in radio domain. So it the instrumentation, the kind of work that you will be doing, you can easily like take couple of patents. Using that, you can get some amount of jobs, you can get some amount of money. So these kind of things and all are very valid, and they are very very helpful for you to like lead your life. But as such as what you're expecting as a salary or as a money in that aspect, it is you will get it, but you will get it only after like let's say 7 to 10 years of duration. Okay, lectureship or professorship is mostly like, okay, I want to spend my entire time in your two things. One is doing my research, second is teaching the next generation. So your attitude towards that has to be that I have to teach and I have to also do my research, not about money and stuff like that. So this usually comes secondary when it comes to like PhD.
Right. Thank you for the very detailed and comprehensive answer. I think that answers a lot of questions that our listeners might have. We'll tackle one more, that let's say a student who wishes to pursue, like you mentioned that about your antenna projects, right? You started from scratch. You went back to the basics, went and Googled them, each and everything. So let's say someone wants to pursue astrophysics but has no idea where to start. So with regards to learning the math or the physics, could you just give us your roadmap as to where, how did you start, where did you start, and your progress as to what you studied, what topics you covered, and what in essentially a student might require in order to consider taking this up as a profession? For this question, let us assume that it is someone who has an idea of what, let's say he has listened to your previous answer, knows what the life is about, what the finances are about, and still wants to continue further. So how would he start? What would his roadmap look like?
Roadmap to pursue the um, career in astrophysics, right? Kind of.
Yes.
Okay, so first things first. Here also there are like two very important aspects. It depends on whether you want to do it in India or in abroad. Okay, if you want to do it in India, let's say for example you want to pursue your astrophysics career in India. In India, you're having lots and lots of theoretical astrophysics. There are various very good central government universities who have very good theoretical astrophysics background, and some of the connections go up to Cambridge, Harvard, and MIT. These are all like very standard kind of connections that you will be getting even in like a very good central government universities, or lots and lots of colleges where it's reputed all over the place. Theoretical astrophysics, for studying theoretical astrophysics, you need to have very very strong background in your physics, in your mathematics, and in understanding the uh, physical aspects of a lot of other things, like, okay, having that kind of a curiosity towards any kind of physical aspects. Okay, sometimes theoretical astrophysics, it's also like very very important to learn even coding as well, because while you're working towards your theoretical field, or when you're actually like working on theoretical field, you need to also understand that sometimes coding will help, and it will take you a long way. It will give you that acceleration, it will give you that push while you're actually like doing your work in your astrophysics field, whether you're pursuing while you're pursuing your PhD or your master's thesis. At that time, you will mostly be requiring a lot of coding skills. You will be requiring some amount of shortcuts or tactics, basically, which will help you to like optimize your code in a lot of ways. So this is a very like important lesson, which mostly I am seeing a lot of people who have taken up theoretical astrophysics lack in a lot of ways. They learn it in their PhD or when they're doing their masters or their PhD phase, but it's always better to like do it before they are learning, before they are joining their academia career, basically life as such. Okay. Uh, so that is one thing. So now, second, I would like to go for experimental. Experimental is basically like you're working on instruments, you're building new instruments, you're building like new detectors to detect something which is outside your uh, space, like outside your uh, Earth, basically. Okay, whatever you want to detect, you're detecting it anything which is outside your Earth. So this aspect, for this aspect you need to learn a lot of electronics. You need to have a lot of engineering background. Mostly, purely whoever are taking the field of engineering or whoever have done their BTech course, whoever have done or completed their BTech course, they will normally take up experimental astrophysics, which is a very fascinating field. It is relatable to them because you will be you have or you would have learned about a lot of electronics, a lot of computer science, and a lot of like engineering fields. So you would be familiar with whatever you're going to get when you are pursuing that career, that part of the career. So uh, when you're taking up experimental astrophysics, the first thing which you need to do is that have very good connections. Okay, in India, even theoretical and experimental, predominantly experimental, because of the fact that experimental is not a thing right now. There are very few colleges who are taking up experimental as a stream. I would say Raman Research Institute was one. Then there is Indian Institute of Astrophysics. Then there is Tata Institute of Fundamental Research. That is considered as really good in terms of astrophysics, in terms of fields related to astrophysics in India. And then you are having IAC you could take up, but IAC normally don't focus on astrophysics that much as such, how they focus on other fields. And then you are having Indian Institute of Technology, Kanpur, IIT Kanpur, and some of the IITs like IIT Indore, and there is ARIES, these kind of Aryabhatta Research Institute of observational sites. So these are the places which normally they work on instrumentation and instrumentation. Some places focus more on optical telescopes and optical instrumentation. Some focus on radio. Some focus on X-ray. Some focus on gamma rays. So there are like various different fields, various different work. Anything whichever is suitable to you, you can take up.
Thanks, Q, for this answer. That has cleared up quite some confusions here and there. And now, some people or some of our listeners might actually have an interest in pursuing abroad rather than India. So, could you like briefly just talk about what the process would be for applying abroad and any considerations to have in lieu of Indian institutes?
Hmm. Applying abroad, especially if you're pursuing your right now, if you are studying in an engineering college, one of the most important point is that uh, when you are doing your work, or whenever you are doing your project, like major project, or taking up your major project, or you're taking up your minor project uh, during the course of your engineering, at that time, one of the most important point is try to take up a field which is, or through some contacts or connections, try to take up a field which is related to astrophysics. Okay, because uh, the projects that you take up, that is the most important point, and that is the highlight of your CV and SOP, which you will be submitting it to a foreign university. Okay, mostly whenever they check your SOP, they will mostly focus on the kind of projects that you have worked on. If you have some amount of paper publication, if you have published a paper related to astrophysics, if you are on going to publish a paper, then that is always an added benefit. It is always a boost for them. They will always expect that. Sometimes strong connections related, especially if you are in Bangalore, you are having very good astrophysics universities like ICTS, TIFR ICTS, International Center for Theoretical Sciences, and you are having Indian Institute of Astrophysics, you are having IISc, you are having Raman Research Institute. These are all like some of the best universities which are having very good connections in with some wonderful and good foreign universities. So when you take up some certain projects under professors under these universities, they will have very good connections in some of the good foreign universities. So that connections will always help you to work in the future. So the first thing is take up internship in any of these central government, centrally funded universities. Second is that if at all you have done that and you are actually like planning to go for foreign places, one more thing is take up GRE and TOEFL. GRE, TOEFL, IELTS. If um, covers most of your places except US, I think. I'm not sure about that. I think mostly it covers everywhere. Normally, they nowadays they are asking they ask only GRE English, but sometimes some universities even ask GRE Physics. It was a norm before, but after COVID they have stopped that as well. I feel at least when I was looking at the criteria, it was stopped, but I don't know whether they have increased it or not. And then SOP is one thing which you need to understand, because that is something which wherein once after you're done with your GRE score, once after, because these are all just like criteria, just like how in while you're working in for Indian universities, you need to clear gate. That is just a criteria that anybody whoever is studying in IIT has to clear gate. The same thing, like anybody whoever is studying in foreign university has to crack IELTS and TOEFL, or IELTS or TOEFL or GRE or something. They have to crack it. It is a mandatory step. But after that, how do you get a good university? How do you pursue a very good uh, field? How do you impress let's say a very good professor for him to take you up? Foreign universities mostly depend on the professor. If the professor agrees to take you up, he can not only just um, absorb you into the university, but also provide you some fundings, which will help you in covering up your tuition fees while pursuing your career in that particular university. So this opportunities will come only when you are having a very good CV or a very good SOP. So that will happen only when you are having good amount of research work. If you are very inquisitive, if you are actually taking up good amounts of projects, like working in RRI, if you have worked in RRI, if you have worked in IIA, if you have worked in ISC, ICTS, these kind of universities, because I'm telling these universities because it's mostly Bangalore centric, so it will be helpful for you to like commute and other things, but uh, and manage your fields in like manage your coursework and also your project. Sometimes even if you're willing to like, fine, I can go outside Bangalore and then explore, that is also well and good. That also will provide you more and more. In your summer vacation, you can just like go and take up some other go to some other place and just like go to their observatory or institute and then work for something, because mainly what is required uh, or what they are expecting you is, are you really interested, or can you take up the hardship of actually working in an environment, or in a lab or an observatory? Or are you just like, okay, today I'm having passion, let me just think about it, tomorrow I find it very boring, oh I'm sorry, I just want to leave. We don't want a person who is not committed, who is not focused enough for uh, doing something related to astrophysics. They want somebody who's working hard, who really wants to pursue something in the future as well.
Uh, Thank you. And the next question actually has nothing to do with astrophysics.
Okay.
In fact, can you just tell us about your college life at RVC? This is something that the listeners they might get to experience what RV is like in case they're thinking of coming or in case they never heard of it before. So, how did you spend your 4 years here, and any highlights or anything like that?
My time in RV was very actually it was very nice. It was very interesting, really challenging. Lots of things were very boring and mundane as well, which I had to do. Let me start off with the first year. First year when I started, uh, I felt that there were a lot of people who were mostly like, okay, the first thing which when I was sitting in front of with my parents and I was sitting in front of the let's say it was basically like a ground, an open ground where they were conducting the orientation of them. So the first thing which they showed was, okay, here is the placement statistics. Take a look at it. So everybody in the entire area, everyone were like, okay, I want to in the next 4 years, we just want to get into that particular company, earn that much. Yes, that is our dream. That is our life. Slowly, as and when like things started to happen, one of the best part about RVC, which I loved, and I'm kind of missing, like not exactly, but kind of missing in IIT, is that here in RVC the campus was slightly small and there it was more inclusive. Like I I was a computer science graduate, and I had to just when during my orientation I was mostly involved with chemical engineering people and civil engineering and these kind of people. Just normally just making friends out of every single one of them whoever I'm seeing. So be it chemical, be it mechanical, be it civil, anyone whoever I see, I will just be like, hi, how are you? How's life? So this bonding is something which was very nice over here because the campus was slightly smaller. You could actually like, okay, today you feel that, okay, let me just I will not recommend it, but let me just bunk one day and then just like, okay, skip a class and then just let me just go out, hang around, and then see how things are. And then you just stumble upon some of your friend in chemical engineering department, or let's say civil engineering department, and then you just go out uh, to like see what they are doing. So that's how I started learning about a lot of things. So that was one thing which helped me a lot, because while I was going through this things, and then I realized that, okay, I'll just uh, see how the astrophysics club is, and it was basically in some corner of the place at that time. Like it was not actually in a very well constructed area, because that was like a very new club. So I was just like, okay, what are these people doing? Working on astrophysics and just like talking about science and space and everything. So that is that was one thing which, okay, there is something called as astrophysics club, and I was really interested in that after. And then our when I was the first year, there was my senior, her name was Dakshata. She motivated me. She's now doing her PhD career in Los Alamos, which is in US. So when she was in her final year, and she was basically motivating all of us to basically go to Dhruva, come to Dhruva, and just see how things are here, stuff like that. So that like helped me. This bonding, this kind of bonding with respect to any kind of field, opened up a lot of things for me. Like as a computer scientist going into a field of like astrophysics, learning about things over there, and then understanding a lot of things. So that just helped me a lot of ways.
Right, right. And This is seems to be a very popular question among Dhruva members. Let's see if you can answer it. Is bun samosa overrated?
No, it's not. It's not. It's not. I kind of missed bun samosa in sitting in IIT Kanpur actually.
Wonderful. And I think this is our last question. So now you have like reached a stage of your goal, right? You're currently pursuing your PhD.
Hmm,
So you have done what most people like wish to do.
hmm.
So the question is, would you make any changes in your approach starting from when you joined RV and up to now? Would there be any changes that you would have been like, oh, I wish I had done this instead of this? If this had been there, it would have been better,
Okay,
or
like
anything like that?
going back to past and then changes. Hmm.
Yes, basically.
Okay. Um, I would say that one of the most important changes that I would do is, to be honest, nothing honestly. Like because the life, however it was going, it's actually very smooth. Yes, in some aspects, things have not gone in my way. For example, I would say that after pursuing my internship in Ramana Research Institute, normally people usually apply for foreign universities and they get it in foreign universities because RRI actually has that kind of an influence for you to go to abroad. But for me, in my case, mostly it was not possible because of the fact that I was uh, it was first initially a COVID batch, and then after COVID, there was a lot of funding issues in the foreign because of the war and other situations. So it was really unfortunate that I couldn't get into such university. I did mail them, I did contact them, but I couldn't get over there. And also that is when I got a hold of a professor who is a very senior professor in Raman Research Institute, and he is currently working in our IIT Kanpur right now. I'm mostly working under him, so he basically like recommended me to like, okay, fine, if you have not gotten in RRI or even in foreign universities, it's fine. You just pursue your career in studying in Indian universities, trying to see how things are over here, and then see if you can get into IIT Kanpur and then uh, do your stuff there. So I would say like how things have gone, how stuffs have gone in my life regarding my engineering phase, regarding my learning phase, and also my PhD phase at this point of time. Everything, whatever I am right now, it is because of this amount of learning, whichever I have done during those times. So I don't want to change anything on at this point.
Wonderful. And I think I would like to add just one more question, which is not part of our list. Now we are speaking from the perspective of engineering students, being from RVC.
Hmm.
Now there might be someone watching this video who, let's say, is in 11th or 12th and is currently pursuing, let's say, a BSc degree at any research institute.
Hmm.
So the approach for them might be a bit different. So what would you recommend, let's say, for them?
So if you want to pursue a BSc degree, um, first of all, try to get into like one thing is that you need to have a very good aim as to, okay, if I want to really pursue some kind of research or really you want to do some kind of research work in India, then you just try to go into any kind of central university, any central university which has a BSc, MSc degree. These are the ones that you need to look out for. Focus on your JE, focus on your studies, focus on your physics, because of course you cannot give an excuse that like how the other engineering students usually give an excuse that, okay, JE is like maths, physics, chemistry, and then I'm sitting here and doing computer science or electronics or something like that. You cannot give an excuse because your entire career depends on physics. Okay, you have to learn through math, physics, chemistry, everything, and then try to take up a university which is mostly having some kind of central government funding, or it has some good amount of professors or this way. Nowadays, in a lot of usually before we would be in the dark that I don't know what to take, I don't know what to pursue. Internet has penetrated through most places, and it has actually given access to various different things, various different schemes, and various different events that not many people would know was there before as well. Okay, in fact, this department which I'm going in, that space department, it was it was not there like before, and it just came into existence like 2 years back. I just got an information through uh, surfing through the internet, like thinking about, okay, fine, what more institutes I can join, and then I got into this university. So similarly, there are lots of universities where you can actually pursue. Look up the professors, look up the teachers who are going to teach you, who are going to give you some work. Normally, when it comes to BSc, MSc, this one, it's mostly integrated course where they take up BSc plus MSc combined. It's an integrated course, so do that. From there, you can like easily like take up your future uh, career properly.
Right, right, absolutely. And I think with that we can wrap this up. Once again, Pranavana, thank you so much for appearing on this podcast. And to whoever has been listening, you have now in front of you a full experience of what it's like to actually take astrophysics seriously and not just looking at the stars or at the telescope. If you want to make a difference, if you want to make a contribution, if you want to learn something or discover something, then you got to do it the good old fashioned way of studying hard and working hard. And that's all there is to it. So, yes, thank you.